I was like, well, we're gonna have elderberry. Do we need to? If we need a friend, he does need a friend. And when you. They know their members. So, the only way we know they are members. I mean, I know there's so much. Open it up. So we just gotta plant two. Yeah, well, I know. They move. Right. Don't let them rot though. You gotta hang it out. Yeah, I'm excited about that because I'm not super. Unless it's like a river bank. Yeah, we're doing it. Me too. I just gave it as a gift and I've never used it. And she was like, "Oh my God, this is great." So everyone's a plant. I'm so glad to see all of y'all here today. It was the
Relation traditional native trees and shrubs and development. Sets grass for wildlife.
For our program, we have Joy Grissom. She is from the Native Plant Rescue Squad, which is on the other side of Knoxville. Is it by the Arboretum? Is that right, Joy?
It is the Knoxville Botanical Garden Arboretum, not UT,
Yeah.
as far as Oak Ridge or campus.
So she's gonna tell us just a little bit about that place, and then she has some things about native plants for us.
Yes. Write down your questions, save your questions. I used to say, let me know if you have questions, and then the whole get just like totally off track. So Native Plant Rescue Squad is a 501c nonprofit. We've been existing since 2015. Friend and I, Jerry Mole, we're just, we started hanging out in 2012. We were both into civic engagement, pretty artsy, plant geeks. And so we started doing projects together, and then we realized, man, what about this? And so we formalized and became a nonprofit, which has been really interesting roller coaster. So this is our vision: ecological health and beauty, where we all live, work, and play. Oh yeah, I'm doing this part. Something I have been really encouraged by and humbled by, as far as like where I'm at with the natural world, was with Aldo Leopold. He is a biologist, conservationist, and natural environmental observation. And he keeps it real, and he says we abuse land because we see it as a commodity belonging to us, where when we see land as a community which we belong, we begin to use it with love and respect. So that is something that Jerry and I and Native Plant Rescue Squad and all of the volunteers have realize that we are a community, we are family, and we're gonna work together and encourage others and spread the gospel, I guess. So, yeah, this was a hard site, and we're working really hard. This is about a year-long rescue site. And it's off Hartford exit going 40 East. We called it Grassy. We opening, and this is about 100 acres. And how we did with the loggers, we don't know who the landowner was, but maybe the loggers, but they just said, just come on the weekends. And as easy as that was, as a tip to all of that, because look at all these native plants, look at the variety, look at the diversity. Oh my gosh, we've never been, so I guess, enmeshed in all this environment that we're digging and digging, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is awful. Like, yes, we're gonna bring it into another environment. We're gonna encourage people in more urban areas to create native plant landscapes, but gosh, this sucks. And yeah, that's us. We're kind of like trying to figure it out. That's the same site. Yeah, yeah, it was hard, but yeah, we're out there before any of that really happens, and it's just so lovely being there, though. Not looking at that, but in the woods. And it was two huge mountains when a creek just ran through it. So it's like south and north facing, and they had different plant communities entirely. So it's just, it's a learning experience. You learn how they grow. You look at the plant communities, how do I implement this in my yard or in a garden, or just, learn what works where. For example, I know. So, at a neighborhood scale, yeah, multiple departments want to, represent some water resources, a little pond, to divert water, or, even like, like a little mini pool that kids play in. You could just kind of like spread around native plants and just encourage things, not mosquitoes. You can use something to discourage mosquitoes. It's natural. But like that really, that's attracts much wildlife and gives, opportunity for salamanders, turtles, birds, frogs, all that to be happy. And it's always nice to observe nature in your backyard. So like I said, we formalized and we created a mission statement, the longest mission statement in the world, but I'm going to go through it real quick. We're a nonprofit, educational, dedicated to conservation and restoration of rich diversity of native flora in East Tennessee. We work with builders, developers, landowners to rescue native plants that would otherwise be destroyed during clearing, building, and development. And then we make them available for educational opportunities and restoration projects in the overall mission of ecological health in our region. And we also have to encourage beauty when some people are like, this looks, like the whole mindset of a native plant landscape versus our typical landscape palette that developers put in. And it's like, it's all it's all mirrored. It's all the same thing, cookie cutter. So how do we encourage that? We're working on it. It's hard, but at least developers are working with us and saying, sure, go in there, do what you got to do. The idea with the overall ideal change in this culture would be if they put native plants back in. So we have to work with them in that. Like, that's become another endeavor to take on. So this is a contract. It's been more developed than this. I just kept the old slide. And if they're interested, sometimes they give approval and say, sure, go for it. And sometimes they want to see something legitimate. And it just says that you give us access at a time, certain date, and we are there not to stop development or this has gotten tricky now because I am like, oh, stream bank aware. You guys look kind of over here, they can kind of cross the line with some of that. And I've worked with them with that. And luckily I wasn't the tattletale. yeah, if there's any restrictions, you just kind of advise them nicely if you do see something kind of sketchy happening. For provision of services, just so they know, like, hey, there's been a few that has asked what's in it for us, because they know that this is going to be a revenue funding endeavor for us, so they don't understand, like, well, what are you gonna give back? And so we offer a provision of services, and it's basically right now just a conversation with their landscapers on opportunities to get native plants in instead of, I don't have anything against Japanese maples, but it's just they're not food for wildlife. So there's that, and it's very common. Crepe myrtles, Japanese maples, the different types of nandinas. God, it's so boring. It's so boring. So, and then we became certified with the state. We originally we were an educational nonprofit. We were wild plant collectors, and then we had to get a certification as a nursery, what was it called? Native plant nursery. So we were all over the board with like, who are we? So after, I know, what do you tell us? Whatever, it was the Tennessee Department of State or Agriculture. And they're like, well, you're a 501c3, you're educational nonprofit, you've got a mission that says that. So, which is nice. So we're an educative nonprofit that allows us to dig plants and sell plants. So this is something we've had to develop for some of the developers. Like sometimes it has to go beyond this, like with a waiver of subrogation, which is something I've never heard of until this year. That was kind of just changing our insurance, like coverage. Luckily, it didn't cost us anything. So, just lets us know that you're not held liable for any injuries. Because that can be overlooked a lot, and it should be a big deal for them to know that we are not there to, we're safe. These terms, conservation, preservation, and restoration, kind of seem to mean same thing. The difference in conservation is that it will preserve some of the areas for public access, but preservation means it's untouched. And so what we're doing mostly is the restoration part. So, we do rescue, that is a conservation movement, and we believe in preservation, but we're not there yet. So as far as like the advocacy, in creating, what do you call it? When you have a land conservation, like I want to teach people about how to have their land as a conservation easement when they sell their property, or I'm just like really curious about how that happens. So we're restoration right now. We're advocating for that because we have all the plants to do so. And notes about rescue. So I went through, yes, so this is we're basically rescue, restoration, and education. So as far as rescues go, it all encompasses the same thing. We teach people on these sites. We teach them how to dig, what environment we're in, like how to, will this tree transplant? Is this the proper time to dig it? Let's look at the lay of the land. Let's talk about land stewardship. And this is the bread and butter of a novelty. This is where people are most interested. This is what makes us different. And people want to do this the most. If they would volunteer, that's what they want to do. So we're working on this workshop model, 4 to 5 weeks. So we'll have some introductions, some classroom time, and then we'll be out in the field. We'll be working with experts at Trees Knoxville, which is Tom Wellborn. I know some of these people have presented at Wild Ones meetings in the past. Some bug experts, some invasive species experts, because there's a lot to when you dig a plant. You're bringing invasive species with you most of the time. So do you shake off the dirt that is the native soil, or do you, which plant can you not shake dirt off of? Which plant needs this kind of soil when you're potting it up? It's a lot to consider, but ideally you dig and you put it somewhere else immediately. That would be ideal, but now we have this nursery model, which wasn't our intention, and it becomes a lot of work. But also our volunteers really love doing that part too. This was our very first rescue site that before we even knew what we were doing, we're like, let's go dig some plants and sell them at the farmer's market because people want native plants. So this is a friend of ours who was selective clear cutting for pines. They were infected with pine bark beetle. So there was this thing's about 10 feet long. So we had to consider, okay, it was interesting because we had to keep track of this path, where the pine trees are and how the vehicle would move and like, just take those plants. Not those. I know you want those, but those are gonna be fine. So it was tricky. And that was another 100 acres. And this is so this is in 2015. And this is how we didn't have apps back then. So I used, it wasn't a taxonomical guide. I think that's what it's called anyway. Dichotomous key. So I didn't use that. I'm not a botanist. I used a book called Wildflowers of the Ohio Valley and Appalachian. Wildflowers of Tennessee and Ohio. It's a very good book. It needs updating, but that taught me everything. That was really good. So, but now I have an app that's really, really handy. And it's picture this. That's the most advanced one that I've found. So all these beautiful plants, we realized that orchids don't transplant, and that was really sad because we could have just said, don't touch this area. Yeah, some guilt with that. And this became our list of all the things that we rescued. Yeah, basically, it says 2721, but oh my gosh, so much diversity. I would say probably like 500 species of different plants in that area. Oh, and for the record, that was near 7 islands. So can't remember that exit, but sometimes we'd take that to go to Kodak. It's like on the way to Kodak. Yeah. So, and they were, doing the pine bark thing, pine beetle excavation, but they're also building little compounds and little houses on there. And so that the beginning slides where I showed all that devastation were on the truck and just beat up. This is some of the pictures from that. There's our trailer. We could use a new one because that's Jerry's trailer and I need one now. So locally, the Appalachian Mountain Bike Club was another source that we were like, hey, they're removing native plants. And so we reached out to them, and they're a conservation nonprofit. However, it was really interesting to be able to let them know, like, hey, you're not doing any harm. We're just here to dig plants. And there was anybody here? I'm gonna like be careful. Are people A and B C advocates here? Okay. All right. Well, I think that they were somewhat offended that we thought that they might be hurting the land, and all we were trying to say is like, let's work together. Like, this is a no-brainer. Your conservation. But the executive director is interested in what we do. He likes what we do, but it's like just this constant conversation, and he's so busy. They're making trails all over East Tennessee. So we work with them when we can. We're trying to develop a memorandum, what's it called? MOU of understanding. Thank you. With them, and just to let us know where the trails are being built, because they always flag them. It's really easy to know where they're going. And they did have this, I wouldn't say it was a defensive thing, but that this explanation that the trails were only 3 feet long. Fine, you're bringing in excavators. That's true. But they cut into mountainsides and hills. If that's cut in, got to remove some trees. The possibility will fall, or that will potentially be dangerous. So that gets cut out, and then everything gets dumped to the side. So it's kind of about 10 feet. So, some of our experiences with them has been pretty good. It's, well, I'm gonna say pretty good. They let us, they were happy we were there. And sometimes we were kind of a pest, I think. Isn't that great? This is another one of my, peeves. Anyway, gosh, I feel so bad because I want to critique it, but The natural spring at Baker Creek Urban Wilderness is in South Knoxville. This was also something part of ANBC. I feel like, my phone's gonna go off. I'm like, did you, like someone from ANBC is like, I can hear what you're saying. Anyway, this was something we were trying to preserve for about 5 years. And then, oh no, I'm sorry, someone else was preserving this area. And then she made friends with me, and she was getting native plants from NPRS. And we started working together, and then we were like, hey, let's keep this going. It's getting out of control. We want to develop it and create signage and seating areas. And then COVID happened. So we had a grant for $5,000 in the pocket, and then COVID happened. And then that director moved on after that. So I'm working with someone new, and that is no longer there. Just saying, yeah. It just it didn't. I'll move on. It's touchy. It's touchy, but I when I have time, I will, and I have permission. I had to do, this was the time I had to do a waiver of subrogation that I'd never done before. I said, grant or not, I'm gonna plant native plants, and I hope that they're gonna be protected. So like I said, I'm a pest. This was our very first community rescue which was such a great opportunity. This is at UT, the native plant class. They were at Stanley's greenhouse because the teacher has always like done little field trips with them. So he took them in there to look at native plants, and I was working there at the time. I was like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? And he's like, this is me, teach native plant class. I'm like, oh, let me tell you what you need to do. So we kind of, we adopted them. He was like, this is great. It was their first like hands-on experience in the field, rescue native plants, teaching everything on like how to do it, what to look out for, and be careful. So first year they did that. Second year we had a stream bank restoration project with the county stormwater management in Knoxville. And we dug plants so they could remove all these invasives. So we had the opportunity to remove all the natives so they could go ahead and create, do conservation of invasive plants. And then we raised them for a year in the class, we housed them, and that same class the following year put them back in. They're just so lovely. And just like a perfect community effort. But they also we collaborated with AmeriCorps and Trees Knoxville and Stormwater Management and UT. Oh, and this is it. That's the same project. So we rescued some of these plants, but we also added some new ones that were native. What's like the bottle brush buckeye. I was like, you gotta have this in there. I don't know if it survived, but at least we tried. Blackberry Farms, Blackberry Mountain. Are you familiar with this resort? Okay. They do a lot of development, and I knew the landscape architect from working at working at Knoxville Botanical Gardens. She was on the board. We became friends. She says, I work here. We want you to dig these plants and save them, and we were going to put them back in the landscape of the new development. So we did that for a while. Unfortunately, these types of plants that they wanted, they're in the Ericaceae family. So that's blueberries, azaleas, rhododendrons, laurels. Oh my gosh, Trailing arbutus, what is it? Pipsissewa. So all those things do transplant. There's one specific that some of those definitely will not transplant, but rhododendrons, if you can get enough of they're usually too big to transplant, but you can kind of get some that air layered, and laurels do kind of okay. And the low bush blueberries, it's like people want to take those home, but I'm like, you're gonna have to baby this, and there's like disclaimer on whether it survives or not. But hepatica will be fine. Partridge berries fine. I got some in my truck if you're interested. But yeah, those certain ones that people wanted back in their landscape, I'm like, oh, we'll do what we can. So that was a cool deal. Ideally that's what we were wanting to work on. Putting it back in its original place. And we want to also, when I often will get contacted from people like not only to rescue something on their property because they're gonna build, but, and they want consultation, like what to plant after they build. But this was a really good opportunity where the landowner says, teach me everything. And he's becoming a master gardener in Knox County. And he just like grew berries and veggies most of his life, but he started getting really into native plants. So although I wasn't prepared for him to walk with me everywhere, it was just because I was like in a hurry and, I was like, no, this is a great opportunity. So we learned about everything. And I was like, will you take the turtles like off this property when you see them? It was like before there's excavation. So that was a really good opportunity. And I would like that to be more of a program, land stewardship. And that's one of our UT, interns. We get a lot of interns. We get an intern every year. So that's nice. But it's also a lot of work too, to manage them. Getting better at it. And so I went through rescues, restoration, education. And we realized we were educational nonprofit or educational whatever organization by working at the farmer's market downtown. We had all these plants, just collecting plants, housing them at our homes, each individually. Nuts. All our driveways are just like parking on the street now. Okay. And so when people were like, what's up? Tell us about this. I also want to say this, like before I forget, I've got to give props to the Wild Ones because we started their mission, the Smoky Mountain chapter. When we started being involved with them, we looked them up, we found this, we saw their mission. We went to their their meetings and saw presentations, and Douglas Tallamere was the first time I was ever introduced to this person who's an entomologist that talks about the specialization between insects and native plants. Everything changed. So we started educating people at the farmer's market about all this. I love, like, everyone wants to look up the folklore or the medicinal properties and everything about native plants. And they also wanted them in their yard. So then I became this landscape restoration specialist, part of the organization, which took up most of my time. But that was a income for me. But now I get income from the nonprofit because we have enough money for now. More educational opportunities, table events. There's us giving our first presentation with the Wild Ones in that Smoky Mountain chapter. More tabling events. We work a lot with stormwater, water quality, and this is where we house our plants. How much time do I have? I could go. I forgot to ask. Are we an hour or?
About 45. He's about 15.
Oh, okay, cool.
20.
This is what we were trying to change. This is an ecological desert. There's so many carbon emissions from this, from fertilizing, watering, mowing, blowing, name it. And there's no native plants like anywhere, or there's no really habitat for anything to like protect themselves. And it's so hot, you just think it's an ecological desert and truly a desert. So teaching people how to like adopt this type of wildness. It can also be very much maintained with paths and more shrubby things. So just trying to be an influencer as far as this goes. A lot of people are scared of snakes and spiders and bees. It's like, well, keep this path this big then. And bees aren't aggressive. You're just wasps and hornets that you have to worry about. So, certified wildlife habitat was kind of a model that we wanted to take on when we're educating. And I think you guys all know about this. So, people think that they need to work harder. And I was like, oh no, all you need is just food. You got it already. I'm pretty sure if you have a bird feeder or native tree, the water, just keep the, little bird bath or a bowl, and then cover, big bushes and things like that, which is also a place to raise young. And sustainable practices are like composting, rainwater, catchment. Smart Yards is also an extension program, and it extends what the certified wildlife habitat kind of mission is. And it is, it's an online workshop. No one's going to come to your house and look, see if you're doing all these things. It's just take the class and get certified. And, you know, just going through the workshop itself, you just realize what you could be doing. And it's motivation, really. And it has a lot to do with water conservation. Because, yeah, looks all the rain that's coming, like how much it could be preserved and what it's doing, you know, to your land and to the environment. There's so much runoff and stormwater yuckiness. Oh, this is the restoration part. Okay. Meadow projects. There's native plant class again with Gary Menendez, digging pawpaws. We've done several meadow projects throughout Knoxville, and some successful. Those things aren't easy. They require a year of just development, and then the maintenance part several times a year following. So I know it looks wild and pretty, but it does take a lot to get to that point. And then hopefully, you know, less, but it needs to be mowed or, you know, cleaned up at least once a year after it's, what do you call it? Matured. Those are just people we work with. So something that's really been very beneficial to us is this, it's a built environment, corporation, built materials called Cemex Concrete and Building Company. They're worldwide. They have like this, they're trying to create this zero whatever footprint to compensate for, you know, the quarries and all the concrete they're mining for, you know, cement and building projects. And there is a location in Knoxville, and they reached out to us years and years ago, and they were like, we like what you do. We want your native plants, because they reach out to schools and other organizations, some other nonprofits. And we have a new project, and they're great. They're really good donors, once a year donors to us, just without doing anything. So we're going to do their properties over 100 acres where their businesses, and a lot of it's mowed. And so we're going to make it grassland. No, we're going to start small. So we're working with Cooper Breeden he's part of the Southeastern Grassland Initiative. He's come to a Wild Winds meeting before. And he's going to educate us on all the steps to take consideration of. And I'm really excited about that, because that's just what we want. This is what we want. So, and I'm working with the subcommittee for Knox County Parks and Recreation. That's on the bottom one. So we are doing a mow reduction program, and they're getting native plants from us, but we're also doing meadows, and planting a lot of trees. And so, you know, a lot of parks just, you know, constantly mow. There's so much mowing everywhere. So that's been a really good experience for me, as I get to connect with professionals that are in conservation and environment. And they're really smart. So it makes me happy that I get to be enmeshed in this, because I didn't go to school for this. I went to school for public health. So I'm still learning. Which was this one is a good experience with, that was in Blount County, and oh my gosh, the organization escapes me. It's the water quality of the Little River. Anyway, so real quick, this was a class, this was our first or second restoration project for UT. I think it's our first. Okay, so what they helped with is creating a native plant medicinal garden at the Botanical Gardens. So originally this plan was supposed to be the Cherokee native plant medicinal garden. But the person that developed this did not understand that we needed permission from the tribe to ever use their name associated with anything. It's just, I'm glad that that's common knowledge now, right? So we were trying to think of these, you know, what's the names? What are these used for? It's like, so we are connected to the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. We've had relationships in the past. It's really hard for them to, and no reason why not. They're very familiar with this project. And Knoxville Botanical Gardens also has a relationship with them, but they're really busy, I guess. It just, we get sidetracked with other things. There's not any signage for this except for one little thing now, but it really needs plant signage. And as far as if we're gonna use Cherokee names, I don't know if that's gonna happen, but so it's just a native plant medicinal garden for now. And the T-Dot project. Okay, let's see what else I got. What's more important? That's our home. Yeah, this is cool. I wish it looked like that now. We're running out of plants. So I'm gonna do a call to action right now. If anybody's thinning out their yards, and if you're in Knoxville, we would do it for you, but unfortunately we're here. You're here. Unfortunately, we're there. And it's hard to hear. So we put a call to action in Knoxville as far as if you want to help my Native Plant Rescue Squad, we could use some plants. So I know we're a rescue, but we're also restoration. And so when people want native plants and they can't find them, we have to provide them right now. And nurseries want our plants too. So it's become like, oh, do we have to start growing by seed? Jerry would never, ever agree to this. It's just like, we've got to go somewhere else. I'm like, well, this is the only way we're going to survive. Like, and we want native plants. So, you can write your email down or you can contact me at info@nativeplantrescuesquad.org. I've got information here. And we can meet halfway if it's such a drive for you. You just put them in bags. We'll take anything, because we can find a home for it. So, and that's our home. Let's see what else we got. This goes on and on. This was fun. A meadow, this is mowed. This was a mowed meadow. And he said, yeah, I'm going to keep a patch or two, but take everything else. I was like, okay, you sure you want to mow it? People are just really into this tidiness thing. Yeah. You can make it look cool if you do little patches of it, and yeah, of course. And put like more flowering things in the front. It's a design issue. Oh, if anybody has heard it, I'm gonna go to my books now. Okay. Oh, I need to talk about that too. Books. Okay. If you guys want this presentation, I can also provide it. I'm just gonna go all over the place. I did want to talk about our program also that's current is our Sassafras Awards, in which we're honoring and giving recognition to public gardens and residential gardens, and it's throughout any county. And my job in the past was recruiting, like who's got this going on, who's got a good native plant like thing going on, like you're giving consideration to wildlife and aesthetics and diversity and transformation of land and things like that. So some people have been shy, like, oh, it's not that good. And it's like, oh, we'll decide that. So you just put your application in. We're going to start this up in June. Probably let that go for 2 months, and I'll keep like people in tune about it. So I really want to advocate for that because we need their gardens. We want people to apply. And the process is you put your application in. We get our judges to look through them, and usually now our judges are winners from the previous years. So we're like, yeah, that's a great idea. And then some other people that want to be involved. So we look through the packets and then we pick our top 3. I don't even judge. In the past years, I've not even been able to read them. I just recruit. I like say, get in here. Sometimes I've done the application for them. So it makes it easier for them to apply. But they pick them and then they go on tour. And then the winners, then we have a big event, which is also our volunteer appreciation party. And we're working on it to be more like coherent, collective, organized fundraiser. So we need money. That's some of that. Public Gardens 2023. It is. I was surprised they won though. I had my pick. I had different picks. I was like, no, I love them though, because they donate plants as well. But I was like, oh, interesting. Now I can't even remember the public garden I was. Oh, it was the Museum of Infinite Outcomes. I asked them, I was like, hey, why'd you pick this garden? Even though it's amazing and they get plants from us and I love everybody there. I was like, oh, they picked that one. Huh. Well, it used, I know why, because it used to be a Pizza Hut. They did they reformed all that land, so they took all the concrete out and stuff. So
Wow.
that had a big deal. Like, you always wonder what the judges are like, I'm gonna give that extra credit, so. But they all were like that. Anyway, and she would not put her garden on last year. She's like, no, it's not good enough. And then I told her this year to do it, and she's like, it's not good enough. I was like, please, and then she won. So, and she also donates plants, as you can tell. It's like, it's wild. So she gives us some plants too. Talked about that, Meadows. Our post office, we got a grant with Keep Knoxville Beautiful. We want to work with them. Yeah, it's cool. And it's sweet. A volunteer night. Some of these people are going to be on our workshop as our workshop experts. He's a good, that's Travis. He works at Knoxville Botanical Gardens now. He has my old job. He's really good at ID. So pretty busy. The way it gets kind of crowded in there. I'm trying to work on the flow. We're putting in new potting stations and stuff. It was Eagleton Academy. That's the one we did a restoration project on. Much love. Okay. Anything else? Ask me anything.
What did you put Clayton Bradley?
The Clayton Bradley, so this was our second year, and they have the Pistol Creek Day, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we worked with invasive species, so we had a group cut all the invasive species, and then they brought it to our little site, and we made sculptures out of it. So we did like some huts, and the previous year we did some sort of animals. So they loved it. I had a really good time. They really loved it. And then the goats were like over here, or a goat. And so they were eating all the leaves off of it. It was really fun. It's a boat race thing? Yeah, it's a cardboard boat race.
The upper school makes boats out of like whatever,
Mhm.
cardboard, and then they race them down. Coastal Creek. It's my daughter's school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She's 7.
Oh.
She doesn't.
Oh, well, maybe I hope she was able to, I don't know, maybe have some photos of her. I don't know. So that's the Clayton Bradley, and the Eagleton Academy was a river basin, water basin restoration. I was thinking what else we did at Clayton Bradley. I think it was like just removing invasives one year, and then this thing this year, so. What else? Do you have time for questions? Oh, there's my Goodreads. I was gonna talk about the new garden ethic is his Facebook page has so much information about design. And his yard, it looks so beautiful, and he's in a subdivision. And no one else around it. In this photo, no one else in this subdivision has done anything similar to what he has.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
like antagonistic, or he's antagonistic. I don't know. He was originally he's a writer. Oh, I'm thinking like journalist. Couldn't think of the word. Sorry. He was a journalist turned environmentalist, and now he's a designer. So Benjamin Bogt. Very, very smart person. All these are good. Oh, Breeding Sweetgrass. This is Robin Wall Kimmerer. She will be having a webinar tomorrow, 6 p.m. for the wild ones. Go to the Wisconsin Wild Ones page, the big Wild Ones page. And this is, she's amazing. So she's also an indigenous Native American, and she has just changed perspective, and the way she, well, I guess she anthropomorphizes plants, which is kind of interesting, but.
Are we talking about Robin?
Yes, yes. So yeah, go to the Wild Ones website and register. And for members, it's just $14. And I will be in a meeting, so luckily it's recorded, so. Okay, I think that's my last slide. And then lovely plants. And this is our donation basket. And I have a few plants in the car. I have like 2 butterfly weeds, some partridge berry, McDowell sunflower. That's a good one. It stays stout and small. And I have some pamphlets, so if you want contact information, still has Jerry's name on it. Is there any other slide you want me to go back to? Did I was afraid I was gonna go over time and then I just rushed through it.
You're fine.
Okay,
Oh, yeah. I do have a question.
yeah,
So in the back of our property, it has just been taken over with switchgrass, and I
Yep.
want to add flower. I mean, it's just solid.
is it switchgrass? Blue,
That's what picture this said,
oh, okay,
but I mean.
not
it's-
broom sedge,
No.
okay.
It's just solid.
I
So
could use
can
some switchgrass.
Well, I
When,
would.
okay.
But I'm just saying,
Right.
how do I incorporate?
Mhm.
I want it to be more meadowish, flowerish, but it's so.
So much switchgrass, I understand.
Yeah.
Well, I would dig some personally. I want to kill it all if someone needs it. We get a lot of requests because it is an excellent stream bank.
And there's a creek right
erosion.
behind. it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would not leave it all. I just want to intersperse.
I would make big sections with cardboard, just
Okay. you-
smother it. Yeah, form it from it, rhizomes coming back,
Right,
and then pop in some other things, or put seeds out.
okay.
Just give it a big, to
Okay.
not,
I didn't know if
take
the
a,
cardboard would.
it works.
That stuff out. you
I
know?
do like extra cardboard too. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And then some soil on top.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then eventually the cardboard starts to degrade and you can either sprinkle seed in there or you can, get in there with, dig a hole and pop a plant in.
Okay. But you would like some.
Oh, yeah, we love switchgrass. So, because we're working with the county and the city, they want plants from us, because they want to support us. So you support us with your plants, that's all I got. I mean, like, that's my call to action. The other thing is, if you see development, if you see signs that say coming soon or for sale, and it looks like even if it's a field, there are precious things in those fields. Ladies' tresses are in the fields, just saying. And they survive, like all these mowing, like this mowing throughout year after year, things survive. They're strong. Yeah, and you can get rid of invasives that way, but like just keep mowing and mowing, but the native plants will persist. Yeah. Just thinking of what I rushed through. I pretty much got everything in there. Yeah. Oh, yeah, this is the section. Corridors, creating corridors is important. So I know there's a lot of open spaces in this region. It's a little bit more rural, but in Knoxville, that's what we're advocating is like creating areas in neighborhoods to plant, to have a section like where what do we call it? Hill strip, where the sidewalk meets the grass and there's nothing there. Let's plant stuff. So we're getting like there are other people collaborating with us that are doing the work, like some people at UT. Start like killing it off as a community and let's start planting things. So, and this, designer, and she's a bee lover in, Seattle created this. It goes from the university to a big forest park area, and she created that little program. And in South Knoxville, we have the Urban Wilderness Gateway Park. It had the intention of being a wildlife corridor, but well, it has potential. And TDOT is something I've been working with, they're creating, right away, pollinator areas. That's been hard working with TDOT. They don't respond. I'm not the curator of it. It is a grant from them, but I don't know. They have, I guess, a delay in responding with the maintenance plan. So as it goes, but, good intentions. I was working with the University of Memphis and some botanical gardens there and in Nashville. And then here, that's how they got a hold of me. I was like, that's how you're gonna find experts? Sorry. I was like, that he only reached out to the botanical garden. So the person that curated all this is a environmental engineer, so. I just like the idea, and they got the grant. I can't believe it. And it might be because we didn't have herbicides in there. I wondered. But I think we needed to use them because it's, yes.
So I just wanted to mention to the group, Linda and I have been to Native Plant Rescue Squad several times, and we tried our darndest to clean you out.
No.
It's been unsuccessful, even though driving our truck.
Oh,
But great place, just a
Thank
great
you.
experience, and two things, I guess, if I had to single out, things that I remember most. A very knowledgeable, friendly staff.
yeah.
You can say, I've got this area, they have full sun, I like this, I like that, and so forth, and they know, like, you saw the nursery.
Uh-huh.
And go through, these are the examples and so forth, that's one thing. The other thing too that we noticed, I usually have, native species, maybe it's changed, but I didn't see one native are there.
No.
In the whole.
Not that I'm aware of. I think that some of our black-eyed Susans that were donated because people, that spreads a lot. I think those are Goldstrom. So that's
Yeah.
considered a native art, but I don't know, we're going with it.
By the way, when you were there, place, I took some seals, I don't know if you remember that.
Wait.
I said, could I please borrow some of your seeds? How'd they do?
Which seats were they?
Seals.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, those are really popular too for stream bait restoration, and they are all over our yard now, so. But that's okay, because we, my yard's become like propagation station. It's kind of. It's not what we intended, but now we're just struggling with having the plants available that everybody wants now. So I'm trying to think of what's going on. We want someone to be a nursery for us, I guess. Yeah, and there's a big call for native plant landscapers, and that's also, hard to come by. There are definitely some really good ones, but they're really good. Yeah. And I enjoyed it when I did it, but people contact me and I just let them know what, I just go through kind of an assessment with them. What do you want? And then I try to find someone that's available. I'm really good at social work. So that's that. Yep. Yeah. I'm like, everything's gonna be okay. I just want everyone to help and pitch in, do their part, grow plants for people. Why not? Let's start a little nursery. Yeah, it's a big deal. And yes, most nurseries in Knoxville are cultivars, nativars. Yeah, they could do, I'm like, why aren't you growing the straight species of little blue stem? Can't find little blue stem anywhere. So I just grow it myself. Anyway, it's just bizarre to me. And they do have, like, you can order these things from online, retailers or whatever, wholesalers, just trays of them, pop them in. Yeah, it's decent. It's a good deal. So anyway,
Thank you so much.
yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm on time, right?
Yeah.
I did good. Okay, cool.
No, you did.
Okay. Okay.
Take one of those.
Yes, don't take my notes.
No, I
You
just
don't want
wanna-
the
I just
notes,
wanna-
any of those,
Yeah,
my outdated pamphlets.
and we are gonna come out. I'm gonna pull up some of that switchgrass for you.
Oh, that'd be great. So when you come out, I can recommend what we have
Okay.
to put in,
Okay.
because mountain mint's something we get a lot of, and that's the best
Yeah,
for pollinators, the best.
they love it.
Very pretty plant, and it will compete well with your switchgrass.
Excellent.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I need mountain mint. I need any plant you got. You're gonna have your meeting now? Right, I'm gonna leave unless someone wants to put any money in here. I'm busking. You too. I didn't even
all your
mention.
plants have got, not all of them.
I meant to say your milkweed patch, is something I have a photo on my website, yeah, I say mine. It's cause I do it all, but anyway. Cause it's your website. Well, yeah.
You said you had a smaller. plant that you have with you. What is it?
Oh, the sunflower, I said McDowell sunflowers.
Again, like, crappy burner, we get the native bed.
I'm gonna ask her.